like to welcome everyone to the July 7th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. First item is approval of the minutes from June 16th. Does everyone have an opportunity to review those? Any discussion or motion?
I move to approve minutes from the June 16th.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, let it be known, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are approved. First item on the agenda, tax dollars 2022-01 SUT. This is public hearing for approval of the request for Terry Stanley as owner for specific use permit to allow dance hall or nightclub in the retail zoning district on lot 42, lot 13, Wakefield. Property located 1551 John D. Shepherd Parkway. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. This case was previously heard by the Planning and Zoning Commission on June 16, 2022, and is being heard again due to an oversight in notification. We sent out 36 notices, 0 were returned. There were 3 protests and 4 approvals. The total area of protests is approximately 11%. The property involved in this request is located at 1551 John Ben Shepherd Parkway. The site is zoned retail and is occupied by commercial development. Land use in general area consists of retail development to the north, office and commercial uses to the south, east, and west. The applicant is Terry Stangby, owner, and the purpose of the request is to consider approval of a specific use permit to allow a tavern nightclub use in a retail zoning district. A site plan has been prepared indicating the location of the proposed dance hall, and it will have a total floor area of approximately 11,250 square feet. Is required to have 59 parking spaces. The property can accommodate 53 parking spaces, and the remainder of the required parking will be met on the adjacent Encore right-of-way. The owner, actually, she has, let's see here. She has an agreement with Encore to use the right-of-way for the parking spaces that are additional parking spaces. If the commission chooses to approve this request, the planning staff recommends adoption of the following conditions. The required parking needs to be striped. Any signs need to meet ordinance requirements, zoning ordinance requirements, adoption of the site plan, review of the permit upon receiving neighborhood complaints. This is a temporary permit, and the city council shall have the right of termination for violation of the terms and conditions of the permit or because of the negative effect of the use on the neighborhood after a public hearing. And I'm here for any questions.
Any questions of staff?
Well, I do. So the first paragraph talks about an oversight notification. Previous required notification missed all but one property owner. So is that the?
Actually,
Okay. Excuse me. What happened on that is we rely on information from the appraisal district. And they had one property owner listed. That's what we sent to, and it was pointed out to us later on that there are multiple property owners. So we felt it in the best interest to read here and notify all the property owners in the shopping center. So that's what we did.
Can I say something?
It'll be open here in a moment.
Any other questions of staff?
So you notified one, but there were multiple that needed to. Well, then I was glad that you brought it back and it was done properly. So.
yes.
Okay. I would note that this is a public hearing. At this time, if anyone is in the audience today to speak in favor of or in opposition to this matter, you will get an opportunity to come forward. At this time, I would ask if there anyone is in the audience who wants to speak. If you would, give us your name and come forward to the podium.
Terry Stangby. I would like to point out that the one letter that was sent out went to the president of the Old Town Shopping Center. So he didn't reiterate any problem when he received that, and he is the president. So that's kind of like, I know they didn't all receive their personal letters, but he is the one in charge of the group.
Ms. Stanley?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you want to tell us anything about?
Well, the only other thing is, I mean, it seems the opposition is coming about parking, and we've already met that. And they're concerned about crime. I've owned Zucchi's for 6 years. There's no notable crime that's happened, and now there's Jimbo's Garage, the wine place. I own other bars. There's no notable crime that's ever happened. So I think they're just they're worried that we're going to have parking over on their side. I've already ordered signs that'll be here Monday that actually illuminate at night that say Diamond's parking north side. And the entrance to the front door is actually on the north side of the front building and the north side in the patio. There is no entry from their parking lot.
You got any questions of Ms. Stanley?
And the parking's gonna be, understand there, you have a right of way there for, on Encore side
Yes,
there? Okay.
yes, and I'm getting the lease with them.
How much parking roughly is in that right of way?
Oh, a lot. Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
basically double the size?
65 parking spaces.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm
Right away.
65,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
What are your hours of operation?
They'll be probably 4 PM till 2 AM, just like the other ones. And we will have food there. It will be a grill, you know. We're kind of going to make it like sort of a Harrigan's atmosphere, but it does have a dance floor and stuff, so,
Any other questions? Thank you.
thank you.
If there's anyone else in the audience today that wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to this matter, now would be the time to come forward. Could you give us your name?
Hi, Larry Burdette. And I'm not here necessarily in opposition or against, I'm here to find out information. It's true what Terry said, that they did send one letter out. It unfortunately went to one person. He did converse with all of us, assumed that we got them as well, and that we had sent him whatever our desires were to oppose or to go along with. So now I'm glad it's happened, that it's been handled properly and everything's good. We don't know, we didn't hear anything what this was going to be. We had concerns in the beginning about parking. And we've had to spend about $7,000, another buyer was before her, to find out exactly where our boundaries were that were kind of known but weren't exactly known up until recently. We don't have any problem as long as everyone goes to that bar and parks in that parking lot, but we didn't know where the entrances were all going to be. And so that's, with Encore's permission for them to use that brings some ease to us. A lot of people in our complex at Old Town Shopping Center feel like 3 bars is sufficient for our little 2 spaces, and they're concerned about there being another. There have been not any murders that I'm aware of in the time that Jimbo's Garage and Zucchi Sports Bar have been there, but there's certainly been damage to the property. When I was at Zucchi's restaurant and she had the sports bar next door, and Hans, my old partner before that, there was a lot of damage to the parking lot and signs that say for handicap, where people would be drunk late at night and run over that. And that's what some of our older people in our shopping center are afraid, that that's just going to be 2 big bars and a medium-sized bar and another smaller bar that's just going to compound what can happen after hours. And things tend to be different between 4 and 2 a.m. than they are between 11 o'clock a.m. and 10 o'clock at night. So that's just, we were wanting to get answers for that. And I understand, I think there's 3 meetings, so hopefully there's time to have considerations with what that's going to be. We don't know exactly what type of bar it's going to be. And then I have people that lease from me are concerned, is it going to be I didn't want Olive Garden coming in beside Zucchi's when I was there. So a lot of times when you have shopping centers, you try to keep things diverse in some way so you don't compete directly side by side. Sometimes we like that in our little corner of town that we do have several of the bars in that area. So when people do go out, that's kind of the place you go, just as you used to hit 42nd Street to find restaurants. So we're not opposed to that whatsoever. But I'm hoping that we hear today, I don't know how this works, and that I get to go back to our people, which I know that 40% as of yesterday had said that they were in opposition to it, but mainly because they didn't have the information. So I hope that we can get information today, and maybe there's another meeting coming up. I don't know how this works, and we can go from there. But Brenda would like to speak as well.
Well, there will be a meeting in front of City Council.
Okay,
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else? Please step forward, give us your name.
My name is Brenda Worthen, and I actually own the property right next door to the current bar, to Zucchi, so I do have a couple of things. And I'm kind of like Larry. I don't want to hold back anybody from expanding or what they want to do, but I don't know what you guys consider crime, but I routinely, and for those of you who don't know me, I run a mortgage company in that shopping center, and we've been there for 15 years. And I tried to estimate, but probably approximately 5,000 to 6,000 people we have helped in Odessa obtain home ownership. So I feel like we bring a lot to the table. The bar has worked with us. I have to say, they've been pretty cooperative, but I routinely have urine, vomit. I have cameras. I've tried to embarrass people by putting their picture up in the window of my office because I'm routinely power washing my front door. Some days, especially after a weekend or a Wednesday night, I might spend my first hour cleaning up trash and bottles. And in their defense, when I show them pictures, they do clean them. They come out and clean them. But in my opinion, in the sports bar and what I'm afraid this is going to turn into, there's not enough police security, and people go out the back door with alcohol routinely. I see them. I work late hours. My staff is there sometimes late, and so I do consider that kind of a safety hazard because we run a business that's mostly during the day. So those are the things that are my concern. The parking and the wear and tear, I think, is an issue. We pay for that. I'm happy to hear. I know that section is there. They have that Encore easement, but I will point out that the shopping center behind us that has a bank and several insurance companies and a hair salon, I think, is back there. They also park there. I don't think that's going to be an issue at night. So I think the parking, to me, is not as huge. I do think there'll be an overflow, but that's not as big of a concern for me, the parking. I know it was for some of the people in my shopping center. I've installed cameras. I have not paid for security because I just don't feel like that I have to do that for my clientele. But those are my concerns. Those are the things I deal with by being in that location. I do think it's going to double the amount of people that we have in bars. If we look at the capacity that's already there, and they're pointing out the 2 bars, there's also homemade wines in that shopping center, which, you can argue whether it's a bar or not, but there's people that are drinking. So when we add that big of a space, we're going to double the amount of people that are out there drinking. So, like I said, I don't know what you consider crime, but for me, it's a crime to stand in my doorway and do your business, and that's what happens a lot. And so that's kind of what I have to say. I'm not trying to say I'm just totally against it, and I know this is not part of this committee, but I think I'd like to hear that we're going to have paid off-duty policemen or something like that just there at night, which is what some of the bars do, and some of them don't. But I think that's what I would like to hear, is that there's going to be some security and some policing of some of the things that I do consider crimes.
Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Can I say something else?
But is there anyone else that is here to speak in favor of or in opposition?
Hi.
If you give us your name.
I'm Julie Patterson. I owned the building for 6 years. We had one incident where a drunk driver that didn't have anything to do with any of the existing bars there actually came through our parking lot and I think wrecked into Larry's manager's car. I don't know. But for 6 years, we didn't have any issue. Nobody peed on my door. I think it's interesting that those other bars have been there for a very long time and no one's ever complained about any of those or asked for additional security. Also, I would like to tell you that Larry and the group he represents were actually in negotiations with us to lease the building themselves to do the exact same thing. So the fact that they've come forward now and want to oppose exactly what she's doing just seems interesting to me.
Any questions, discussion? Thank you. All right, anyone else from the audience that wants to speak in favor of opposition?
Nobody said we weren't having security.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If you'd asked me instead of going behind my
I
back.
think Ms. Stangby asked you first if she could speak.
I just wanted,
Please come to the mic.
Terry Stanby. I just wanted to point out that Homemade Wines is moving downtown, so it won't be there anymore.
All
I think
Yeah.
They're having second location.
Oh, really? Well, that's good, because they're really nice people. And this doesn't really have to do with it, but the city is promoting putting more bars and placing like this downtown, and they're not concerned about crime. Okay, I'm sorry.
And I'm not trying to go behind her back. I'm really not. I have asked for security and I have asked for policemen. That's all I'm asking. I'm not really opposed to the idea at all. But I just don't know that that's this committee's job to say where your entrance has to be or that you have to have security. So I'm just bringing up my issues because no one has ever approached me as well about any of the options. Or the other people that were looking at it. No one has approached me and asked my opinion, and I felt like this was the only venue that I could give it, so.
Anyone else in the audience this year?
I would like to add one thing. One thing that I think is important to add is that that is a completely separate building and is not a part of the association there. And so, whatever they do to police their area is completely on them. The building at 1551 John Ben Shepherd is not part of that owners association or whatever it's called.
Right. Last call. Anybody?
I do have another question for city staff.
All right.
Um,
And we didn't, I want to say that this is an opportunity for us to have some discussion and clear up some issues and clarify things. You will have another opportunity with the city council. One of the reasons that we're here today is to air out some of these issues.
And I think you said when you sent out the second round to all of the owners, how many were opposed?
There were 3 protests, and actually those 3 protests, 2 of them were owned by one person, by the same. The other ones were for approvals, but that's all.
You normally show us those that are
Yes,
opposed,
ma'am. I can see.
or in favor of, or whatever you get back. I'd just like to see that.
So really so we consider that would just be one opposed, because it's the same owner, so. By one person, okay.
Randy, the requirement for security, is that left up to the owners themselves to determine if they provide security or not at their facility? That's not really a city, there are no regulations in the city that require that or otherwise. It just becomes if it becomes a significant problem, then you get your license revoked or whatever we've got here, that the temporary situation that if it becomes too much of an issue out there, is that what the?
If there's too much of a negative impact,
It says see attached letter.
if there's too much of a negative
Okay,
impact,
I'd like to
the
see that.
specific use permit can be
Revoked.
And revoked. And that's for something that's being applied for or something that's in existence. If there's complaints on that.
Is Zucchi's under a specific use or not?
It is not a nightclub. It is a lounge. It doesn't have to have a specific use permit.
Okay, so this,
Limbo's does.
Okay.
This one, the new one has to.
okay.
And you said it was the city's oversight on sending, going back.
It wasn't actually the city's oversight. We mailed out based on the information we had.
And you received that from the appraisal district.
And we received it from the appraisal district, then it was pointed out that there was multiple owners. We investigated, found out, yes, there is, so we reinitiated the process.
Interesting to me that the appraisal district would give you the wrong information.
Well, that's happened before. And would point out that on 2 of the protests, if it was not a common area ownership situation, that 2 of the protests would actually be outside the area of notification. It would not have received a letter anyway.
Ms. Stamey, I'd like to ask you a question here, if I could. In view of the kind of investment you're making now over there and the fact that you are going to be just a specific use permit situation, if you saw the situation where you were contributing to some of the issues that was brought up that obviously Zucchi's over time has also been dealing with, some of the issues of crime that have been brought up here, I suspect that you would be willing to add some security in your facility.
Yes.
Rather than lose your
I want
specific
everybody
use permit.
safe. And I want no problems. I'm the first person to go tell somebody, hey, I think you need to go. You know, we don't put up with that.
Okay.
But yes, absolutely. I'm already planning on having off-duty officers, so,
Okay.
because of the size of it. Not because I think I'm gonna have problems. I don't have problems at the other one.
Well, it's a public facility.
I do have them at the Rocks. I will say that. I do have police officers at the Rocks. And I'm not opposed to having them anywhere else.
Okay.
Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the protest?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I think I have, in case I didn't, I will now close the public part of the hearing and turn to the commission. After there's any discussion, if there's no discussion, there is any motion.
I'll move for approval of the facility.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion second, all in favor, let them say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Right now, moving on to case file number 2022-31P. This is another public hearing where we will consider approval of CrossFit Edition second filing, which is a replat Lot 1, Block 1 CrossFit Edition. This property is located southeast of the intersection of Northeast Loop 338 and East 56th Street. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The site is currently designated retail zoning district and is occupied by retail development. Land uses adjacent to the property are vacant and developed properties. The applicant is Meredith Whitaker, owner, LCA consultant, and the purpose of the replat is to create 2 lots to facilitate retail development and related uses on the property. A platting conference was held on June 28, 2022, with the applicant's consultant and city staff present. There are commission actions, and they're requested as follows. Provide drainage easement across Lot 3 for the benefit of Lot 2, and that's from Public Works. Provide easements as needed for septic field for Lot 2 from Public Works. Provide a private utility for the reroute of water service line of the existing building as not to be under proposed new building. That's from Public Works. An improvements agreement will be required for the drainage improvements, excavation of detention basin, and that's from Public Works. 56th Street on the plat is actually East 56th Street. Loop 338 on the plat is actually Northeast Loop 338, and that's from Ector 911. And I'm here for any questions.
Okay, any questions of staff?
So she's getting ready to break ground on this now?
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions? We note that this is a public hearing. If there's anyone who's in the audience today to speak in favor of the opposition, please step forward. Seeing no one come forward, I will close the public part. Ask the commission if there's any discussion or a motion.
I move to approve case file number 2022-31-P.
I second it.
And there's a second, all in favor, let them know, saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Okay, that's approved. That's case file approved. Going on to case file number 2022-32P. This is to consider approval of the short form plat of Big Bend Edition, approximately 4.9 acres out of section 35, block 42, Township 3, South Texas, City Railway Company survey. Property is located south of the intersection of Fitch Avenue and East Monmouth. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The site is zoned Plan Development 4, PD4, and is currently vacant. Land use to the north is a school and also vacant land. Land use to the east is multifamily residential, west is light industrial, and vacant land to the south. The applicants are Duncan K. McLeod, and Don W. McLeod, owners, Maverick Engineering agent, and the purpose of the plat is to create 2 lots for development and ownership purposes. A platting conference was held on June 28, 2022, with the applicant's consultant and city staff present. There are commission action items. Commission action is requested on the following items. Submit plans to serve Lot 2 with water for review and acceptance. No prorata is due, and that's from Public Works. Dedication of the Pecos Street is unknown. Provide dedication documentation. That's from Public Works. If both lots are to use a common detention basin, provide a blanket drainage easement, and that's from Public Works. An improvements agreement will be required from Public Works as well, and a blanket refuse collection easement agreement will be required, and that's from Public Works. The plat is ready for commission approval as noted. I'm here for any questions.
What's the issue on the dedication of papers? Ever been dedicated before?
It was unclear. It was just, I looked for the right of way and included here, but it, as you can see from the aerial, it's paved. It's paved for a good portion.
Any other questions, staff? Again, this is not a public hearing, so there's a discussion or a motion.
I make a motion, we approve case file number 2022-32-P as presented.
Second.
A motion second, all in favor, let it be known, saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Case file number 2022-33P, consider approval of short form plat Shiloh Square third filing, being 3.8 acres, in section 3 by 41 Century 3.6 County Survey. Property southwest of the intersection of East 56th Street and Castle Gate Lane, South Castle.
Yes, sir. The site is zoned Retail 1 and is vacant. Land use in the area consists of vacant land. The applicant is Wiley Brown and Fredna Family Partnership owner, LCA. LCA consultant, and the purpose of the plat is to create commercial development for ownership purposes. A platting conference was held June 28, 2022, with the applicant's consultant and staff present, and city staff present. Commission action is requested on the following items. The south half of 56th Street will need to be built as a requirement of this plat. Plans for 56th Street are available. 2 sidewalk will be required along 56th Street in the pedestrian easement. Curb and gutter and sidewalk will need to be built along 191. Submit plans for review and acceptance. An improvements agreement will be required, and this plat is ready for commission approval as noted above.
Any questions? No questions of staff, I'll stand ready for a motion or discussion. Motion.
I move to approve case file number 2022-33-P.
Second. Second. Second, all in favor, let it be known, saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Going on case file number 2022-34. P, properties in the ETJ. First time I can remember when we had 4 consecutive members. All right. This is to consider approval of Custom Out Field, being a replat of 3.71 acres out of Lot 13, Block 13, Westover Acres, second filing. Properties northeast of the intersection, north of Dondell Avenue, west of 6th.
Yes, sir. The site is located in the city of Odessa. ETJ does not have a zoning designation and is currently occupied by residential development and vacant land. Land use consists of vacant land to the north and west, residential to the south, and commercial to the east. The applicant is Julio and Araceli Polanco, Rogelio and Luz Armido Polanco, owner, and SW Howe Incorporated consultant. And the purpose of the replat is to create 1 lot for development ownership purposes. A platting conference was held June 28, 2022, with the applicant's consultant and city staff present. Commission action is requested on the following items. Drainage report needs to be submitted. This tract is in a special flood hazard area, zone AE, per Public Works. And Castaneda Fields plat needs 2 control points per GIS.
Any questions? No questions? Either ask for discussion or motion.
Motion to approve case file number 2022-34.
Second.
Second it.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? Going on to case file number 2022-10P, properties in the extraterritorial jurisdiction. Consider approval of final plat of J&E Place, creating a subdivision of 3.24 acres out of section 33, block 43, township 2 south. Property southwest of the intersection of West Hudson Road and South Tripp Avenue.
Yes, sir. The site is in the city of Odessa, ETJ. Does not have a zoning designation and is currently occupied by residential development. The applicants are Juanito, sorry, I'm going to butcher that, Hinojos, Marisol Alvarado Valenzuela, and Angelica Hinosa Avalos, owners, and SW Howe Incorporated consultant. And the purpose of the replat is to create 2 lots for ownership purposes and dedicate South Eva Avenue. The Planning and Zoning Commission gave preliminary approval of this request on March 17, 2022, and the final plat is ready for commission approval.
Okay. I have a question, maybe more of a Randy issue. But I noticed that there is a private road, South Eva Avenue, and it's saying that the owners have the responsibility for property maintenance. Had this question come up twice in my law practice in the last week. That there was not a private road maintenance in place. There's a plat, and there's records on plat saying there's gonna be an agreement among the parties. But I ran into a situation just recently where parties couldn't get a loan on their property because there was not a road maintenance agreement in place. And that's not necessarily our issue, but in the way it is.
Right.
And that we're approving these plats and these people can't get financing.
Yeah, and what this is, it's an agreement between the property owners, and they're designating these as private roads as per the county subdivision ordinance. If they designate it as a private road, then it's their responsibility to do that, and that's what they're doing on the face of the plat, designating it, so they don't have to.
But there's technically not a road maintenance agreement in place.
No, sir. No, they would have, certain, just make it a passable road,
Yeah,
but it's not the same
would-
standards as what would, if it was a
this
public
one,
road in the county.
Can we require that be submitted at something? Can the city,
No, sir.
council?
No, sir.
So the county
Not
would
on-
have to do it?
Not on a private road like that.
So would the county have to do it on it?
Sam?
The county would have to, what they would have to do is in their subdivision ordinance say, we're not going to accept private roads, or private roads have to be built and developed as the same as.
So the county could, we can't, city can't, but the county possibly.
The county possibly could if they amend their subdivision ordinance.
My name's Sam Howell with SW Howell Inc. And you opened up a good question, and I will go on record of saying that when the county started their subdivision ordinance and said we're not going to take any road into our maintenance unless it's paved, they opened this up to the private road, the public access private maintenance road, and they started accepting those. And at that time, I objected vehemently. I said, y'all are creating a can of worms, because who's going to maintain this down the line? And you got a good point, but there is no provision at this time in their regulations or any other regulations that say they have to form an HOA or anything to maintain that road. And in a lot of cases, that road still remains the ownership of just the developer and whoever that individual happens to be. And it's up to them to take care of it. And if they leave the town and disappear, then they're stuck with roads that no one's maintaining. So to answer your question, there isn't anything in the ordinance, and even the new subdivision regulations that the county's working on doesn't address this really any clearer than what it is right now.
But another issue that you have is taxation. Those roads are still subject to taxation.
Yeah, that has happened, and I'll have to give the appraisal district, once this came up, the appraisal district has caught that and has started going back and showing ownership on some of those private roads and is collecting tax. There's an awful lot of them that they haven't gotten back to yet, but there have been lots of them over the years that were exempted strictly because they were shown as a road. And they have come back now, and especially since this has become such an issue, and they've started putting that on the tax rolls.
And that's what I'm afraid of. Somebody could come in, buy it at a tax sale, and tell those 10 homeowners or however many there are here, sorry.
That's it. Yes, sir. I agree.
Thank you.
Sure.
Didn't mean to diverge too far, but it was, and this should too, okay. Yeah. Okay, now I think this is not a public hearing, so stand ready for discussion or motion. Y'all didn't hear me, I stand ready.
I move to approve case file number 2022-10-2.
I second it.
All in favor, let it know, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried. Anything else?
No further business.